There is a new Israeli ambassador to the United States as the cabinet unanimously approves Yechiel Leiter to assume the position on January 24th after Donald Trump returns to the White House. Now, Leiter was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and moved to Israel in 1978, where he since worked as an official in Netanyahu's office and for the West Bank settlement movement. Well, to discuss this more, I'm joined now by Dan Raviv, co-author of Spies Against Armageddon, Inside Israel's Secret Wars, joining us from Washington, D.C. Dan, thanks so much for being with us this evening.
Sure, my pleasure, Nicole.
Now, Leiter is going to be assuming this position at a pretty contentious time in Israel, obviously with the ongoing war, but also with the United States as its role in supporting Israel in this war. And so how will Leiter possibly help or even hurt this crucial relationship that we see between the U.S. and Israel?
Nicole, I think that he fits in very nicely with the incoming U.S. administration. Donald Trump will be sworn in as president on January 20th, 57 days from now, and almost every member of the incoming Trump administration has expressed pro-Israel views. Some of them even saying that Israel can do whatever it wants to in Gaza, leave it up to the Israelis, and whatever restrictions President Joe Biden put on how Israel can use U.S. weapons, well, the Trump administration indicates it's not going to have those restrictions. So having a new Israeli ambassador in town who is thought of as a hardliner, supporting the settlers, someone who wants to keep the West Bank apparently in Israeli hands, will fit in quite nicely. Consider, by the way, that Mike Huckabee, a Christian evangelist, politician, and broadcaster in this country, has been chosen to be the new U.S. ambassador in Jerusalem. And Huckabee has said that there's no such thing as the occupied West Bank. He's totally pro-Israeli. Again, the relationship is definitely going to be run by President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, but in their ambassadors, they have what folks would call hardliners who would get along extremely well. Good news, at least for the right wing, if I can say that, in Israel, Nicole.
Well, you mentioned just the Trump administration's views, likely going to be more lenient when it comes to even settler expansion, certainly compared to the Biden administration, who over the past several years has really been trying to crack down on what we're seeing in the West Bank. And so Leiter himself, part of the West Bank settlement movement, and could this even impact anything more with the Trump administration's view, or does it really just fall in line with it, as you said?
Yeah, I would say fall in line, but what the Israeli ambassador here in Washington gets to do is give speeches and have meetings with officials of the U.S. government and also with members of Congress who love meeting the ambassador from Israel. For the past few years, that has been a professional diplomat and military man, Mike Herzog, who is the brother, by the way, of Yaakov Herzog, the Israeli president. Herzog has been a centrist. He could represent the last Israeli government led by Naftali Bennett and Yair Lapid, and now he could represent the Netanyahu government. Leiter also will be a big speech maker, I'm sure of that. Conservative Jews in this country will enjoy meeting him and hearing from him. Liberal Jews, and liberals are still the majority based on how they voted in the presidential election, many of them are not going to like him and what he has to say about the future. But one thing to keep in mind, we probably are headed toward a period of possible change, big movement in the Middle East, and Donald Trump is close to Saudi Arabia. Donald Trump wants to make a deal. He wants the wars in Lebanon and Gaza to end. So we're not sure what Trump will demand of Israel. This new ambassador, Yechiel Leiter, will be in the middle, but it's mostly between Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu.